Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wingcat Sports, and it's time to actually talk about the Lions. It's been like a month since we talked about the Lions because nothing's happened. But I mean, besides some small, minor things, that's not worth a full video on. But we finally got to a point where, hey, something bigger happens, and that is Frank Ragnow retiring. Which, if you're any normal Lions fan, you saw this somewhat coming. You just didn't know when it was going to happen. You knew that every single year he was contemplating retiring. It's just not the best on the timing, I guess, of what it is. Like you were mentioning yesterday, that why did he do this 2-3 months after the draft?
And then I kind of thought about it, and I figured they knew what they were doing. I would be shocked.
There had been conversations.
If the Lions organization didn't know that this was a possibility.
And I think that's the reason why Ratledge, who we drafted at guard, has been doing. Apparently, he's been taking the center reps.
Yeah, that's what I heard
in OTAs and doing the first. So they must have known something was up. They probably drafted Ratledge as to be the next center, I'm going to assume. It just so happens that being the center is far sooner probably than they expected. They probably thought Ragnow was going to play like I've been saying this the past couple of years that we've been good. Ragnow was probably trying to get a Super Bowl. Saw we were right there. He wanted to play as long as he could.
Yeah,
and he just if we would have won a Super Bowl, like I said the past 2 years, if you would have won a Super Bowl, I expected Ragnow to retire. And honestly, if we don't win this year, I think this might be his last year too. Is Decker? It might be Decker's last year as well.
You get windows, and like I said, I don't know if our window is closing. Certainly, you have to fill in the pieces. We had the best offensive line, or one of the best in the last few years, and I don't know how long it takes to rebuild that. Every year, you're trying to just fill in pieces here and there. You got Sewell, and you got to stay young. You got to stay under 30. You keep, switching out, and you get a couple of years here where you're the guy, you're the team. We had our shot. We had our shot when we played San Francisco, and we were up.
And you had your shot at home.
The Super Bowl that year. We should have done it. We didn't, and that's all there is to it. It's not anything crazy. I'm not saying that we're not going to be a good team this year, and we're not going to make the playoffs. We may.
I don't know if you're willing to. Now, I see some people overreacting, saying our offensive line is now one of the worst in the league because you lost your center. It's not. You just take a small step back, obviously, because now you're doing with a new center. But you got one or two options. Either Ratledge is about to play guard and Glasgow's about to be center, or Ratledge is about to play center and Glasgow's going to play guard. It's going to go one or two ways. Or they're going to alternate here and there. If one starts to struggle, switch. It's what's going to happen.
They got 3 months. They got 3 months to figure this out. And they will. Until they show us they don't. I don't know why people have to get so crazy. They act like you're going to go from a 15-2 team to a 6-11 team because your center retired. It's just silly.
You still have a fantastic offensive line and backup offensive linemen. Again, yes, you're not having your all-pro center, but you have people who have experience playing center. You have about 3 people that you are aware of who have played center reps. Now,
don't you think they're going to sign some people before then? They're going to fill in.
Well, actually, you have 4. You have one that's not really talked about. It's the undrafted free agent we signed. Now, do I expect him to probably make the team as a center? No, but apparently he was one of the top centers in college.
And,
so you have
LSU guard that we took. Miles, forget his name. But we took that guy out of LSU. He's supposed to be an excellent pass blocker, and just needs work on his run blocking. And you have probably, if not the best offensive line coach in the league, you have almost near the best.
Yeah.
I think that these guys will be ready. They're going to have plenty of time to see what they want to do and who can do it. I have. Until they prove otherwise, this coaching staff deserves, at least our wait and see thing before we start being super critical.
Yeah.
I just, like I said, I'm not fazed by this. Because we've known Ragnow was on his last leg for a while.
That's just that if you're a typical Lions fan, you've known this was going to come eventually with all the injuries that he sustained. Playing through all the injuries he's played between broken bones, his inoperable toe, you know, torn pecs, everything that he's played through. You knew eventually this was going to come sooner or later. It's not, and it's a difference from the past because in the past it was players were retiring. You had Calvin and Barry retire early because you suck. This isn't because you suck. This is literally because he physically doesn't believe he can play to the level he should be playing.
Right.
And whether that is still a decent center and he feels that is not good enough, that is that. But he himself feels he's not good enough to play, therefore he's retiring. But there has been a couple other moves made by the Lions in the past couple weeks. Again, nothing big overall that has happened. They signed a cornerback, Devon Wilson, and then waived had an injury was cornerback Gavin Holmes, which again backups that are probably going to be practice squad players because I have no idea who those are. You also signed again depth piece Zach Cunningham, a linebacker. Looks like he had previously played for the Eagles. Again, backup pieces. He'll be fitting in the backup roles.
Right.
It's nobody who's, again, big names. Which, again, is why we haven't talked about much. I'm not going to make a video about a backup player being signed. But for the most part, minor deals. On top of, and since we've made a video, Aiden Hutchinson has been fully cleared to play. So he is fully going at practice.
And it makes you wonder also, with that $14 million we got now from Ragnow, are we going to spend it on a guy like Trey Hendrickson? Are we going to spend it
They
on...
think it's unlikely. Unlikely that we'll make a trade for Trey Hendrickson. Are they going to
just keep this $49 million that they have to spend?
Well, you got to extend it. You got to extend a couple guys. So that's probably where that money's going to go. You opened up some more money to go give it to you guys you currently got. Because Hutchinson's on track. Now, they might sign Zadarius Smith. Because that's still in the rumblings that Smith might be around. But when it comes to the fact, I don't think they're going to do much. Either it's going to be trade deadline stuff or it's going to be smaller deals. But I don't think they're going to do much. And
well, if they don't, then they probably... I think they need to do something, especially now with this news. If they do nothing, then they're probably at best a playoff team. And I probably will not make the Super Bowl because, you got to do stuff. You got to...
It's their own
be
confidence.
Proactive, and if you're just going to sit back and not take chances, then you're not going to do much.
Again, I'm still hoping maybe we can have Zadarius Smith and Hutchinson on each end for the year. We'll see. But again, this does open up cap space. Maybe we would have kept Zadarius Smith if Ragnow would have retired before we would have cut him, because then we would have cap space. But again, we'll see what ends up happening.
I'm glad we waited till we bought the Cincinnati Bengals tickets.
We didn't buy tickets yet.
That's right. That's why I'm glad we waited. Now we're not going to go. Because if they're going to take that attitude, I don't want to,
But
there's
they're
not going to be much excitement around this
confidence.
team.
It's
not confidence.
It's confidence in who you
lost
have.
a major player. You need to do something to boost fans' morale. Because right now they're down, and we're back to the SOL days. We're back to the
which I don't get. You have one player that retires, and everyone acts like we're going to go 1-16.
We didn't win it. If we had won something, at least we could.
It's one player, all pro or not.
But that's what
one
I'm hearing
player
out there now. They had that one podcaster on that one Lion thing. He was crying. I'm like, Jesus Christ! It's only football. Come on.
It is one player,
just football.
And no matter what, a center dictates a lot. But you still, even if you have a semi-crappy center, at least you have 4 other guys that are next to him who are fantastic.
Well, no, right. I'm excited.
Like it doesn't.
I'm worried a little bit about Christian Mahogany only from a health standpoint, but I think he's going to develop into a good player.
I say he looked good. You're gonna have Ratledge, who's looking good. Sewell, who's looking good. Decker, who's always good. Dan Skipper as a backup.
Glasgow is not an average center. He is above average centerman. He is an above
And
average
guard.
offensive lineman.
It's like he's
Right. I mean, but I don't feel like Glasgow at center would be so horrible. I'm
detrimental
trying to
to the team.
understand, but I give it to the coaches. If the coaches feel that they're better off with Ratledge at center and Glasgow at guard or whatever they're going to do, then fine. That I trust the coaches.
Yeah,
They have to know.
I said, I think they've earned enough trust, even though they've had some bad playoff performances. They've earned enough trust with the past 2 years that they know what this team can be and how well they can
They're
play.
at least going to have to sign some decent. I don't know who's out there free agency wise, center wise. People are saying it's not a very good pool, but you got to sign somebody.
The centers typically don't.
Depth. Even if it's a backup, you got to sign some decent depth.
The thing is, centers don't typically switch teams. They don't. Okay. Usually, I mean, where's the last time, like, big name centers usually stay with the same team for most of their career. Ragnow was here his whole career. Right. You know, you got the guy who just retired from the Patriots. He was there his whole career.
Right.
Like, your top centers usually, Jason Kelsey, when he retired last year, his whole career was with the Eagles. Your biggest centers usually don't switch teams. So you're going to just have an average center. Unless, again, Ratledge or Glasgow is going to show otherwise. You are just going to kind of have to deal with what you got. And it's not going to be terrible because, again, Glasgow is decent at blocking.
Right. I mean, but you're going to have injuries along that line, so how good is their depth now?
Besides Dan Skipper, you know, it's probably our usual of, oh, my God. You know, that's how it's been.
So you need somebody. You need to find somebody at least that's going to fill in, be a good backup, not just some body.
Outside of Dan Skipper, I think it's our usual depth because you have Manu.
Is there no free agents left that are any good?
I mean, if they're free agents at this point, probably they're probably not that good. But again, it's just we're gonna have to see how it goes and hope. You know, like I said last year, I said bearing injuries, that a perfect season was 15-2, and you had all the injuries and you went 15-2. So who knows what will happen when the worst happens? But again, it is sad, but retirement was expected, and we'll see how the Lions end up moving forward. Hutchinson's going to be back full practice. They're probably going to start accelerating those extension talks. We'll see how much money he ends up making. He's probably going to be paid near the top, which means a lot of money is going to Aiden Hutchinson. And according to the website from his Trey Hendrickson talk for a quick second, again, unlikely that the Lions are going to pursue because we don't have the room. We're going to trade for him for 1 year, give up top picks to get him for 1 year. Brad Holmes doesn't seem like the guy who's typically been doing that. So
okay, well,
besides like Davis, that was the third round. So
I think they're still a playoff team, but if they're not going to do anything, the group that they have now will not make the Super Bowl.
We shall see. We shall see what happens.
Not the group that they have now. They certainly are good enough to win, 10, 11, 12 games, maybe. But no, they're not good enough.
Outside that, not much happening with the Lions. We'll leave it at that. You know, if you like your scene, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about the Lions and Ragnow retiring and what they really need to do. Or how could they calm your worries? And until next time, hope to see everybody soon.